Hi everybody, I'm Michael, and this is a review for Muppets Phantom of the Opera! So this is a book which was done in 2017. It's pretty funny. I thought it was great. It had a lot of really good jokes that made me laugh out loud. It also had a lot of terrible jokes. Lots of them coming from Fozzie Bear, as you might expect. But overall, I think it was good. I'd give it an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I wouldn't mind if they made, like, a TV movie based on this book. I think that could work, although they'd probably have to change the story, I think, quite a bit for a TV movie. They'd add songs, right? There's no singing in this. That's weird. Yeah. But still, the idea of the Muppets Phantom of the Opera is a good one. I think there's an episode of the original Muppet show where they do like a Phantom of the Opera spoof, and it all takes place in a theater. And hey, the Muppet Show all takes place in a theater, so it's great to have those characters fit. They feel natural inside the theater. Basically, what the author did was they just took the book and threw in a bunch of Muppet characters. So, like, the two old guys on the balcony, they are now the theater's owners. And, of course, Miss Piggy is Christine, and the mean Uncle Deadly, he is now the Phantom. Maniacal laugh. Yeah, there's a couple of jokes about Deadly's accent, which were funny, but also kind of weird because it's a book. You're reading it, you can't hear his accent, but hey, what do you know? Now, the downside is that the author took the original book and put the Muppets in, like, line by line, chapter by chapter. You know, it's really, really close to the original book. The downside being that there are some problems with the original book. Specifically, like, there are, like, two big problems I have with the book is the missing Franck storyline. So this happens right after Piggy is kidnapped. Piggy's kidnapped, and then the book just goes into this weird detour and talking about Franck's disappearing from an envelope for 4 chapters. I didn't like that. I'm like, hey, could we get back to the kidnapping? Could we get back to the main story? I don't care about these Francs disappearing. So I wish they'd moved that to a different part of the book. Another problem with the end of the book is that we have this character called the Persian in the original story. It's played by Gonzo in this version. And it's done really well. It sounds like Gonzo is narrating. But the book has 5 chapters narrated by the Persian in the grand finale. So the grand finale is told almost exclusively from the point of view of this character who we've never met before or never heard of before. I wanted to see the finale from the point of view of one of the 2 main characters. You know, it just seemed weird. So that's a problem with the original novel, and because this book follows the original novel so closely, it keeps that problem. So that's why I'd have to say the characters were generally good. Like, Piggy was hilarious. She was great. She acted and sounded like Piggy. Generally the same with Deadly. Not so much with Kermit. So, Kermit felt more like... I mean, I love Kermit. I've got my Kermit the Frog shirt here. But Kermit didn't really feel like Kermit. He felt like Kermit playing Raoul. He was closer to Raoul than Kermit. So, I don't really like Raoul, to be honest. Based on his characterization here, he seems kind of like a loser. Christine tells him to go away. She doesn't want to talk to him anymore. She does this like 3 times, and he still keeps bugging her. It's like, come on, Raoul, get a clue. She doesn't like you. Yeah, I don't know. Personal preference, don't like Raoul in the original story, and so Kermit playing so closely to Raoul, I did not like that. I would have preferred more of Kermit, because Kermit is more of a take charge guy than Raoul. You know, Kermit's generally the manager of the Muppet Theater. He's generally, trying to control all the chaos that's going around him. But this one, this Raoul, no, he is totally victim to the chaos. So, let's see, another thing. People complained about the pop culture references. I thought they were fine. There were a couple I didn't like. So, for example, there's a reference to the Spider-Man Broadway play where somebody was injured on set. That's a really specific reference. I kind of knew that story, but kind of didn't, and so that joke just went over my head. A couple of the references went over my head. Another one I didn't like was when Pepe, he's like, I was doing the Encyclopedia Brown thing, you know? I think Encyclopedia Brown, I think that character is thebomb.com. No one would ever call Encyclopedia Brown thebomb.com. So that was kind of a terrible reference. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but I'd say in general the references are still good, and they hold up like for, what is it, 5 years later? Yeah, it's like 4 to 5 years later. Although, you know, I gotta imagine like 20 years from now, this book's gonna be a lot harder to read with all its references to the year 2017. That's personally what I would think. Let's see. I really like this one joke where Kermit's like, "Hey, Piggy, if Deadly was a hottie, would you like him better than me?" And she's like, "Pretty much, yeah." I just thought it was so funny to ask. What if Deadly was a hottie? How would you feel about him then? I just thought that was a hilarious line. I think that's everything I have to say about Muppets Phantom of the Opera. You know, I wouldn't mind if they made it into, like, a TV movie. I don't think it would be, like, a full movie like they'd show in theaters. I think it'd just be, like, a TV movie. And I think they'd have to change a fair amount. Like, they'd have to add songs. So, you know, what I would do to make it for TV, you know, I'd at least try to have, like, a comedy sketch, you know, like, you know, make it a bit more like the Muppet Show, have a bit more comedy sketches and stuff like that. I'd also play up the female characters. So it's played by Yolanda Ratt. So Piggy is Yolanda's understudy. And she kind of has like one scene where she's being nasty with a Bean Bunny, and she plays heavily in like the first chapter. Yeah, both Yolanda and Janice. So they're kind of important in the first chapter, then they kind of disappear, and then they kind of become important again, like chapter 7 or so. And that's the chapter when the thing, this chapter, The Faust and the Furious. So if you like a joke like that, then you'll probably like this book. But this is chapter, the illustrations in this book are really good, by the way. But this is a chapter where Beaker is killed because a chandelier is dropped on him by the evil Phantom. So anyway, the two female characters who are not Piggy are important in that chapter and in the first chapter. I would have played them up. You know, it's kind of weird that we have the female characters just show up and then they disappear for most of it, and then they show up again, and then they're completely gone. So I would make them more important to the story. That's just me. It would have been cool to have like a big rivalry between Piggy and one of the other divas, because that works well. You know, Piggy's been playing a diva for a really long time, and it's a sort of a, you know, joke space that Piggy's pretty good at staying inside of. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm rambling at this point. So those are my thoughts on Muppets Phantom of the Opera. I hope you enjoyed my review.